I'm Brigham Larson with Brigham Larson Pianos. This piano is awesome. I think there is no better value in the entire industry than the Hailun 5P as far as uprights are concerned. This piano did win Piano of the Year one year, and for good reason. It's just a super solid piano. I've seen so many of these come through. It's been, what, since 2010, and I'm making this video right now in 2023. So 13 years that I've been selling these pianos, and I've seen so many of them come through. I knew back in 2010 that they were solid, and now I know it not just from my experience as a piano technician and observing what I see, but also from real world experience, having seen so many of them come through, and the real world bears out the quality. Okay, so real quick before I show you the piano and the guts and everything. Again, back in 2010, I was doing some investigation into Hailun. They were kind of the buzz of the industry as a Chinese manufacturer that had sort of finally cracked the code in manufacturing, in figuring out how Western piano manufacturers do such a good job. And the quick version of that story is they hired Western designers to do all of the design work, determining the parts and the materials and the hammers and the dampers and doing the scaling and everything. So it's a team of 4 Westerners that did all of that work. So anyway, they were sort of the buzz of the industry as like a really not just an okay manufacturer, but like really quite good. But I was still kind of unsure. I had seen the piano. I was very impressed by what I saw at a convention. I thought maybe they had souped it up because it was a convention for a bunch of piano technicians, and so I thought maybe they were just, trying to put their best foot forward. And I was so impressed. I thought no Chinese piano can be this good. But I was comfortable enough that I bought one, and it was actually basically the same model. It was actually this model that I got in my house, the 1P, which is the 48-inch version. This is the 50-inch version, which I just like even better. It's virtually the same piano, but this one has some cosmetic cabinetry improvements over the 48-inch version, and then of course it's 2 inches taller, which gives you a bigger soundboard, longer strings. Okay, let's talk about there's a bunch of stuff on the inside that I want to highlight that I find just super impressive about this piano, and again, my experience with this piano has borne out that all of these things that I'm going to show you, they're not just kind of a theoretical sort of an idea. Someone's thought that it could make some strides forward in piano manufacturing and design, but I've actually seen it happen, and it's legitimate. It's the real deal. Like, this stuff really works. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is the key bed. This key bed is made, well, traditionally key beds are made of wood, which is fine. Wood key beds have been the standard for 300 years. But the problem with wood is that, of course, it warps and twists, and it expands and contracts with changes in humidity. The key bed, by the way, is the foundation of the keys and the action. So basically everything mechanical in the piano relies on a solid key bed. So what they've done here is, this is the key bed right here in this piano. Same with the little brother piano here, the 1P, but the 5P, they've got aluminum key bed, which, of course, aluminum, when compared to wood, aluminum is completely solid. It will not change dimension forever. So no expansion, contraction, etc. I don't need to belabor the point. So where the keys and the action rest on that, it's the foundation. They will not change. It stays put as far as regulation and all of that. And you can imagine, kind of like the foundation of a house. If you have a crack in a foundation, that crack will ripple up through the system of the house, and you'll find a crack in the sheetrock in the second floor or the attic or whatever, because that the foundation supports everything. Okay, the other thing that I want to point out is you've got A-grafts here in the base, which, long story short, A-grafts have been determined through testing and experience to be the best termination point for the strings. You only really find A-grafts in grands, and even nicer grands at that. A lot of grands don't use A-grafts. They'll just use pins, but this is obviously more expensive thing to manufacture, and it's a good thing to do it because it makes the sound just awesome. And then here, what they have, similar idea, where you've got this brass, A-grafts are brass, but also this rod here that sort of nestles in a little carved out area in the plate. So the strings don't terminate their vibration on the plate, but on this brass rod, which there again is excellent for termination point. And by termination point, what I'm referring to is the string. Of course, it's a wave. When it hits, it vibrates like a wave, or like a jump rope. If you give a wave into a jump rope, that wave will propagate to the other person holding the jump rope, and it'll come back, and it'll propagate between termination points, which in the case of a jump rope is the hand and the hand over here. That'll just kind of, the wave will propagate, and so you want well, correct termination points, and that's what the A-graft and what this brass rod is. The next thing that I'll point out is, maybe just one more thing, and then I'll play it, is the plate. So the plate is kind of like the key bed, where it's the foundation, but rather than the foundation of the action and keys, like in the case of the key bed, this is the foundation of the strings and the tone production. So it's about 18 tons total of tension. Each of these strings, there's of course 88 notes. Many of those notes have 3 strings per note. Each one has about 160 pounds of tension. 160, 160, 160, 160, 160, all the way. About 220 total strings, about 18 tons total of tension. That's a lot of tension. And so you have to have something super, super solid that can handle that sort of tension. If we're made of wood, of course, that would be, well, it wouldn't be able to handle the tension, but it would also be super unstable. So you have cast iron, and that's why pianos are so heavy, because there's so much cast iron in there. So traditionally, the shape of the plate is kind of this triangle shape, where it comes down here, goes across the bottom, and then up, triangular at the bottom. But then here again on nicer uprights, higher end uprights, you have what's called a full perimeter plate. I see this on Steinway uprights, where you've got this big strut up the side here, and this big strut up the side here. And what that does is that just makes that plate super solid. It's just like, it's there, and it is not moving at all. The full perimeter plate again makes the piano heavier, more expensive to manufacture, all of those things. But there again, this is not just theory that someone had the idea, oh, let's throw a full perimeter plate on there, it's going to be better. But I've seen it where I've been the technician that has gone out and serviced many of these pianos that I've sold, many of these 5Ps, and yeah, it's legitimate. Like, the tuning stability is super solid. And just to contrast, before I play it, one last thing. Let's look at this Yamaha U3, which is a great piano. I've got great respect for Yamaha and for the U3 in particular. Just to kind of show you what I'm talking about. First thing, let's look at the key bed. You can see the key bed down there is made of wood. Hard to see a little bit, but it's wood down there. Then you've got these pins here for the termination point, and then here, same thing. You've got just a ground down part of the plate So that's cast iron that is the termination point, not that little nestle nook for the brass rod like you do on the 5P. And then the last thing that I'll show you is under here. The plate that I'm talking about kind of has this triangle shape, and this has a little bit better structure where it comes from over here, but it doesn't go the full perimeter. Same thing over here. So you can see they're trying to deal with some of the same structural engineering issues that I'm talking about with the bottom part of the plate, but they're not going full perimeter on that. So even Yamaha is obviously dealing with the same engineering issues, but they're not doing it as well as the engineers with Hailun did it. Okay, let's listen to it. This is the real reason that this piano is such a great value. I mean, because this piano is like half the price of what a U3 is, and listen to this. Beautiful. Just richness of tone and sustain, warmth, power, just everything. Nice, clear, high-end and powerful bass. And you don't lose a lot of pianos as you get down to this area. It ceases to be musical, and it's just more of a just kind of a blah kind of tone. But here you've actually got musicality all the way down to the bottom. That's a great piano. So I'll end this video in the same way that I started it. There is no better value on the market than the Hailun 5P.